You're too old to be collecting those little old toy figurines, man. Need to go down to the old sawmill and pick up a few hours to pay for your mortgage. Why do you even collect those old wrestling dolls?
I don't know, maybe because it's super badass.
Alright man, if you've been around for any amount of time, especially if you've been collecting action figures in general, not even just wrestling, I honestly feel like wrestling, it may get a little bit even, I don't know, I guess you could balance it out maybe, and maybe if you come from a different action figure collecting genre, you can let me know down in the comment section below whether it gets laid on thicker that way or not, but I feel like wrestling, I feel like if you still watch wrestling, you get this shish all the time, but you mix together collecting the figures, plus you watch wrestling, man, you're just asking for the old men to come out of retirement and beat the hell out of you with their cane sticks, man. I'm telling you right now, I have heard so many different things about this, man, and you could probably relate to this down in the comment section below. As you get older, especially if you're a younger kid, you may not get it as much, but I do know this for a fact. I've had multiple people come up to me that are in the younger audience, and they will tell me, you know, if they meet me at WrestleMania or something like that, they'll say, you know, my friends, they make fun of me, or, you know, they'll be an athlete or something like that, and, you know, none of their friends understand it, because I can completely see where you're coming from, and in terms of, you know, different people telling you that, oh, why do you do that? Or people thinking you're quote-unquote weird for liking these things or whatever the case is, man. And I've totally been there. And I can get into some, like, personal stories about it, but I don't even know why it's even a thing, because I think that kind of like how comic books became kind of a newer age deal or something that became cool, I guess, because of the MCU, you know, it kind of made it more mainstream and, you know, the rise of the MCU and Avengers, and maybe that's what it had something to do with, I'm not entirely sure, man, but if you've collected for any amount of time, especially, I think you can relate to this even if you're in that, maybe if you're not under 10 years old, I don't think people will care, but I think you start creeping into middle school, you start getting up there in high school, etc., that is when people start to be judgy, and they start to, you know, like, they analyze and look at every single little thing that you do, and then, you know, you go off to college, whatever, and then you become an adult, you get your adult job, whatever, you have money, you have disposable income, you can go out there, you buy figures, and then, you know, people, oh, you buying that for your kid, or some lady at the store checking you out, you know, she's ringing your stuff up, be like, oh, is this for the kid? You'd be like, no, Becky, I'm putting that damn Ultimate Edition Stone Cold Steve Austin up on my shelf because he looks awesome. Similar, this actually happened to me just the other day at Walmart. I was leaving, you know, the other day, I think this was on our toy hunt, actually. This happens time to time in toy hunts, and I can get into some of those personal stories as well. But, you know, I did buy 3 of those Ultimate Edition Stone Colds. Well, you know, they always check the receipts at Walmart, which is a whole nother deal I could go off on, but, you know, they check your receipt at the Walmart as you're leaving there. Not every time, but, you know, they try to get you right there. But this, in particular, this lady, she was probably pushing 60-ish. I'm not entirely sure. Don't mean to throw out her age right there, but I guess nobody knows who she is. But she did stop me with the receipt there, and she's like, oh, somebody likes wrestling, because I had the 3 Stone Cold Steve Austins there, and I said, oh yeah, haha, weird, awkward chuckle, and off I went with my buggy. And, you know, I think that's something that a lot of people have gotten, and I would love to hear some stories down in the comment section below, because I'm sure there are plenty of them, but man, dude, it's insane, like, just I don't understand why, you know, and it's dumb because, you know, people can collect shoes, and I guess it's just a societal thing, right? Because if you collect shoes, nobody bats an eye. If you collect handbags, or if you have a shish ton of t-shirts in the closet, or jackets, or there's many other things people collect that people don't bat an eye about, but my God, Brad, you collect a single action figure, or you just, good God forbid you want to display a John Cena action figure on display. And I will say, I think with the rise of social media, I think with the rise of, you know, collecting and collectors, and I think like YouTube and social media, and again, TikTok, Instagram, these, you know, different accounts that have grown and stuff like that have promoted collecting, I think it has entered into a more mainstream deal where it's not looked upon as, you know, niche or as, you know, quote-unquote weird like we were saying before. But I know that people deal with these stories because I still deal with it from time to time. Even with my channel, you know, the first, you know, if somebody asks me about my channel, or they ask, you know, something about it, or they see a figure that I'm buying or something like that, they're like, oh, what's your channel about? And I'll say, oh, it's about WWE action figures, or I'll say something along the lines of, oh, it's about wrestling action figures. And then, of course, you know, they're going to ask a bunch of questions about it, like, oh, so you like wrestling, or you you enjoy that or whatever. And I've ranted about this on Twitter before too. God forbid, again, people are at your house while you're watching a wrestling event, and they're just, oh my God, it just drives me nuts. It literally makes me want to pull my freaking eyes out, because they'll say, oh my God, that sounds so fake. And this is getting off the damn action figure path, but still, man, it is crazy how people will look at that and they'll say, oh, you still watch wrestling, or oh, that's so fake. Look at that. Oh, that punch wasn't real. Like, oh my God, brother. Oh my goodness gracious alive, Brad. Have you ever watched a film ever? It is the exact same thing. I've tried to lower my voice about that, but it just drives me up the wall. And that's like a wrestling thing. That's not even talking about the collecting side of it, where, God forbid, again, I like to pose an action figure because it looks awesome, because it's an incredible thing. And I know it ties into people's childhoods, right? You enjoy things, and I would love to know if people didn't really collect as kids or whatever. Like, maybe they didn't collect ever, and then as they got older, they found action figures and were like, oh, these are really cool, even if they didn't relate to any of the products. I feel like that's a very, very small percentage, but it's something that I thought about. But at the same time, I think that wrestling itself connects us to our childhood, and I think along with that comes the figures, right? Spider-Man, Marvel, that same stuff, the Star Wars, the Transformers, the G.I. Joes, the everything like that, man. All of that ties in, I think, back to your childhood. For me, it's the same deal with wrestling. It's the same thing with Dragon Ball Z or any of these other lines that I love and love to collect, right? I was 5 when the OG Spider-Man Tobey Maguire film came out, right? And I mean, that's just that, that's something that you hold dear, right? And that's how everybody connects it. And then when you collect, you relate that back to those objects. Like you think about, oh man, that the nostalgia factor, that obviously plays a role. But I've even talked about this with many of my friends in this community and touched on it before. It's like, what about collecting, or what about action figures in general? Is it that you want to, like, okay, I'm a fan of John Cena, right? What is it about that I'm like, oh, I wanna have a shrunken down plastic figurine of John Cena to put in my house and then pose him around just like I see on the TV or whatever it is. And I've heard people talk about it before too, where it's like, okay, why are you having to prove? It's almost like you're proving that you're a fan of something, right? It's, oh, I have to have all these action figures because it proves my fandom, or it's like you want that sort of approval, or I can't think of the word off the top of the dome, but I guess it's like approval, but it's like you want that, I don't know, I don't even know, and that's a whole another facet of it, but that's just something that I've thought about before. What is it about it of action figure collectors in general? And you can answer this down in the comment section below. Why do you collect? And I think that also gets into it, right? When you get into, falling down the rabbit hole of collecting, where you're just collecting everything and just grabbing up everything. And this kind of is something that I wanted to touch on in a different video, but, I think that a lot of people just collect because it's brand new, and, they're trying to stay cool and relevant or whatever, and they want the brand new figure because it's the new shiny thing. Get that hit of dopamine, you get that hit of satisfaction, or, that joy that comes with it coming in the mail, or you opening or displaying it or whatever, and then it's on to the next thing or whatever the case is. But you should not collect like that. That is not a way that you should collect. You should collect in a different way. You should collect what we talked about throughout this entire video. What do you hold dear? How do you want your collection to look, and all those different things? And I know we kind of steered off the original topic, right, of being an adult action figure collector, or people calling you out for being an action figure collector in general, but these are sort of like 2 or 3 different topics that I wanted to loop into one single video, because I had both ideas, but then I felt like it kind of came up anyway, and tomorrow we'll be doing a review. But I wanted to touch on this because I think that it's important, and I also wanted to put in here that I hope that you don't let other people deter you from collecting, or make you feel like you're some weirdy or some, blithering moron because you collect action figures, or that you bought a figure, or you like to, display them, or whatever the case is, man. Absolutely ridiculous. People are usually just miserable with their own lives, so they try to tear down other people to bring them down into that misery. And you don't want to be there, man. You don't want to be like that. I have family members like that just drive me nuts, and it's almost become like a damn inside joke, because me and my brother, we feel the exact same way, right? And we relate a lot in that way, because we've gone through that together, kind of, because we're into the same things, right? So that's kind of a whole different deal there. But like we always, if that certain family member or certain family members, they'll make the comments, and you just like look at each other and chuckle and laugh because like, my God, there they go again. You know what I mean? But I know this video's all over the place, but I hope that it hits home with somebody out there, and I just wanted to touch on a few of these different topics because, again, I had them written down here, and I thought that I would touch on a few different things and kind of explain it, but I would love to hear some of your stories down in the comment section below about people telling you that you're too old to collect or something like that, man, which is, again, just ridiculous. They act like we're out here kidnapping puppies or something like that. And another thing, too, is I know that there are parents out there that come down on their kids, too, or it's like, oh, man, you're getting too old to play with these things or something like that. Keep your head up, man. Keep your head up. But anyways, man, this is just a topic that I wanted to touch on and kind of discuss with you guys out there in the, you guys know I love to make these topic videos just to talk with you down in the comment section below and hear your stories and your different thoughts on everything, man. I would love to, if you have any ideas on the subject whatsoever, I would love for you to chime in down in the comment section below to whether you can, relate to it or whatever the case is. And I want to leave you with this right here. But I think that's pretty much going to wrap it up for me today, man. I hope you guys did enjoy. Again, leave me your thoughts down below. A huge shout out to our Patreon members, man. I appreciate all you fellas so very much. And also, I wanted to talk on WWE Elite Series 118 should be hitting my door, so we're going to put up those reviews coming soon, and that will be a great way to start the weekend. I can't wait to see Jacob Fatu in the full plastic, get to compare him to the new or to the past MLW figure and see the challenge right there to see which figure is truly better. That should be fun. That may be the basis of the whole video. I don't know. Should we do that? Should we do MLW Jacob Fatu versus WWE Elite 118 Jacob Fatu, or should we just do a standard review? I don't know, man. Should be interesting, but I'm getting the hell out. I hope you guys did enjoy. Leave me your thoughts. I'll see you guys next time. Have a blessed one, and I'll catch you guys later.